All right, hi everyone. Today we're going to be starting our transformation unit. So we're going to start with rigid transformations first. And there are 3 of them we're going to be studying. We're going to be studying reflections, translations, and eventually rotations. Today we're going to focus on the first 2, which is reflections and translations. So here's some background knowledge real quick. A rigid transformation. Rigid means stiff, all right, and it means going to be congruent. So a congruent transformation or an isometry. It's a transformation that preserves the shape's size and shape. All right, so therefore, when you have your first shape and you do the actual transformation to it, those 2 images are going to be congruent. It produces the exact same shape, just in a different location. So we have types of rigid transformations. There are 3 of them, like I mentioned. We have translations, reflections, and rotations. There's one type of non-rigid transformation, and that is a dilation. Later on this year, we're going to study dilations. All right, but for focusing, we're just focusing these first 3, translations, reflections, and rotations for the next couple weeks. So the first one is a translation. All right, this is when you move an object left or right, up or down. Left or right. Or up or down. So here's our first example here. We have triangle DEF already pictured for us. We are going to be translating this figure 3 units to the left and 2 units up. All right, so what it wants us to do first is it wants us to write the coordinates of the actual figure. So let's start with writing the coordinates of D, E, and F. So here's point D, and here's the origin. I'm actually going to highlight this a little bit darker for us so we can see it a little bit better. All right, point D is at 2, 2. Point E is at 4, -1. And point F is at 1, -3. All right, so that is our initial figure. All right, it's what we call our pre-image. So this one right here is what we call our pre-image. What we're going to do is we're going to do our transformation to it. That's going to create our image. We denote this with the same letters, just one added figure. The added thing we do is that little tick mark there. It's called a prime. All right, so it's going to be D prime, E prime, and F prime. So we're going to start at point D. What we're going to do is we're going to move it 3 units to the left. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then 2 units up. 1, 2. And that right there is going to be where our new D point goes. We're going to notate this as D prime. We're going to do the same thing with all the other points. So E, all right, it's going to go 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. And then 2 up. 1, 2. And there is what we'll call E prime. Same with F. Go 3 to left. 1, 2, 3. 2 up. 1, 2. And that is F prime. Once you have moved all of them, you can connect your dots. And we have created our image now. Okay, we're at the coordinates. The coordinates of D prime are 1, 4. Oh, sorry, -1, 4. The coordinates of E prime are 1, 1. And the coordinates of F are -2, -1. So let's look at those coordinates real quick, a little bit more in depth. If you look at this, if you look at the first one, D, we went from 2 to -1. The difference between 2 and -1 is I subtracted 3, which is the same thing as going left 3 units. If I look at my 2 and 4, if I go from 2 to 4, I am increasing by 2. That's the same as going up 2 units. So essentially what I'm doing here to my XY coordinates, to all my X's, I was subtracting 3 because I was going to the left 3. And for all of my Y's, I was adding 2 because I was going up 2. All right, so that's another way to kind of talk about that. It tells us which directions we go. So if it's X minus number, you're going to be going left. If it's Y plus a number, you're going to be going up. If it's X plus a number, you're going to be going to the right. If it's Y minus number, you're going to be going down. So here's another example here. It says a translation rule is given. It says the coordinate xy is going to now become x plus 4 and y minus 6. What would move each point in what direction? So let's look at that first one here. I've got x plus 4. X moves it left or right. Since it's a positive 4, we're going to be going to the right 4 units. And then we also have y minus 6. Your y goes up or down. Since it's a negative, we're going to be going down 6. All right, for this one it says, if an image A prime is negative 6, 5, and the transformation rule was xy will become x minus 1, y plus 2. What is the pre-image? So from here we're going backwards. All right, so we have this coordinate, and we did this rule to it. We did minus 1 plus 2, and it got us this answer here. Okay, so we had something. We did x minus 1 to it and y plus 2 to it, and it got us negative 6, 5. So what we can do is we can kind of work backwards here. All right, so we ended up at negative 6. We took a number and we went to the left, so we subtracted 1 and we got to negative 6. So the opposite of this is I would add that 1 over, so it would become negative 5. For my 5, we actually went to the right 2 to get to 5. But if I wanted to solve for it, I could set that to 5, so I could subtract that 2 over. So y started at 3. So my original point was negative 5, 3. All right, example 4 here. We're trying to figure out what the transformation that happened here. So you kind of look really close. All right, this is my original shape. All right, so this is my pre-image. And then we did some type of transformation to it. And we got my image. I know the difference because if you look at it closely, it'll be easier to see in yours. You have those little prime markings on all of these. Okay, so to figure out our transformation, you're going to pick any point you want. Let's just pick x. So here is x in our pre-image, and here is x prime in my image. And we're going to see what we have to do to go from x, our original one, to x prime, our new one. So it looks like I have to go up 1, 2, 3. So I have to go up 3. And to the left 1. So now we can write that out as my rule. So you always start off with x, y. We're going to transform it by doing, if we're going to go to the left 1, that's going to be x minus 1. If we're going to be going up 3, that is y plus 3. So this would be my translation I would encounter. All right, so that is translations, moving it up, down, or left or right. The second one we're going to be looking at today is reflections. A reflection is actually going to be flipping the shape over a given line. That line is called the line of reflection. Okay. So we're going to be looking at the line of reflection, and I'm actually going to highlight the line of reflection so I can see it a little better on all of these. So in example 1 here, we have triangle DEF. It's a little off there. All right, I'm going to go through and highlight my axes real quick just so we can see them a little bit clearer here. Okay, so my first example here is we are going to actually reflect over the x-axis. So I'm going to go through and we're going to highlight the x-axis. The x-axis is this one right here. So we're going to take all those points and we're going to flip it over that axis. All right, so we're going to start with each point. And how we do this is our pre-image, DEF. We're going to make our image by reflecting it. And you're going to essentially make however far away it is from that line of reflection, and you're going to copy it just the opposite way. So start off with F. F is actually going to be right here. And you'll see F is actually on that line of reflection. If it's on the line, it's actually not going to move. So my new point, F prime, is actually going to remain right there because it's on the line of reflection. For E, E is 2 away from that line of reflection. Starting at the line of reflection, I'm going to go 2 away from it just in the opposite direction. For D, D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So to get D prime, oops, I forgot to label that. To get D prime, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from it the opposite way, and that will get me D prime. So So I can connect the dots, and I have successfully reflected that shape over the x-axis. Let's do another example here. Let me darken my axes real quick. Whoops. Okay. For this one, we are going to reflect over the y-axis. So I'm going to highlight that y-axis. It is this line right here. So you'll notice none of our points are on that line of reflection. So all three of our pre-image points are going to move or be flipped over that line. So let's start with E. E is 1 away from that line, so I'm going to go 1 the opposite way. So E prime will be right here. D is 1, 2, 3 away. So I'll go 1, 2, 3 away and get D prime. F is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. 1, 2, 3, 4. F prime. So I'm going to connect my dots. And there's my new solution. If it helps you, you can also, I sometimes will do this too. I will highlight the new image there, so I just know that that is my new image. That is my image rather than my pre-image. We're going to do 2 more. All right, the next one here, example 3, we're going to reflect over the line y equals 1. So y equals 1 looks like this. Fine, we're on the y-axis, it's 1, and you're going to make a horizontal line there. So you notice right now, our shape is kind of getting cut by that line of reflection. So you'll notice I have 2 points, D and F, that are above that line, and 1 point, F, that is below that line. So when I reflect it, F is no longer going to be below the line. It's going to be above the line. And D and E are no longer going to be above the line. They're going to get flipped below the line. So let's start with F. F is 1 away. So I'm going to go 1 away the opposite direction. And that will give me F prime. D is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will get me D prime. E is 1 away, so I'm going to go 1 away the opposite way. And that will give me E prime. So my new triangle is right here. So notice kind of overlapping the other one. It's overlapping our line of reflection. That's completely okay. And the final one, this is the most common question on the OST when it comes to types of transformations. We're going to reflect over the line y equals x. So the line y equals x is actually this line right here. So it's a diagonal line, a little bit harder when it's not vertical or horizontal. But the lucky thing is we actually have a rule. And this is one that we kind of just need to memorize. The rule is it goes from our coordinate, x, y, and all you do to reflect it is you just flip-flop the order. So whatever coordinate was first, you're going to flip-flop it and move it that way. So what we're going to do here first is move reflective line y equals, I'm going to write out all of the actual coordinates for D, E, and F. All right, so D is at 1, 2, 3, -3, 5. E is at -1, 2. And F is at -4, 0. So when we do this transformation to it to get D prime, E prime, and F prime, all we have to do is flip-flop their order. So D was -3, 5. D prime is going to be 5, -3. So notice we didn't change any signs. We just flip-flopped their order. E prime is going to be 2, -1. And F prime is going to be 0, -4. So we're going to come to my graph, and we're going to graph all these now. So D is 5, -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. D prime. E is 2, -1. 1, 2, 1. And F is 0, -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. and I have successfully reflected over the lines. This one has a really nice rule, as long as you have that memorized.